Hello and welcome to another episode of the Culture Hour. My name is Shelley Smith, your facilitator, moderator, and of course, everything that I do is about workplace culture. It's my jam, it's my passion, it's my focus. You guys know this, and this is why you're tuning in, is to see who do I have as a guest this week. Well, I'm super excited. I've known this gentleman in and out of the various circles, from PenSherm to the Entrepreneur Organization and a few others for, gosh, maybe 3 years now, as well as Disrupt HR. And so I recently heard him on a panel at an entrepreneur organization actually event, and it triggered me to say, why have I never had him on the show before? So you're really going to enjoy this discussion today. So welcome to the discussion today, Daniel Velinsky. So hopefully I said the last name right. Did I? If not, you can correct it. Okay. Okay. All right. So Daniel is actually, he's quite the entrepreneur. He's got an incredible story. He's going to tell you a little bit more, but he is the founder, the owner, the CEO, the you name it, of 4 different businesses. And those are Opus Wealth Strategies, and he'll tell you a little bit more about that. Insight Finance Academy, which he's partnered with Peninsula SHRM quite a few times on this, and is currently one of the sponsors. And boy, when he gets up to talk, he really brings the crowd alive. I absolutely love it. And then CrossFit Chesapeake, that he owns with himself and his wife, simply because they are not only workaholics, but they understand the value and the understanding of being mentally and fit, the wellness across the board, which obviously goes with his brand and all of his organizations, which I love people that they're saying they're doing, their actions are in sync, and his are. And then finally, Squire, which I believe is something that is newly launched. And again, Daniel, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit more, and those watching a little bit more, about each of those entities and your background of how you got into this serial entrepreneur world that you're in today.
Thank you, Shelley, so much for having me today. Yeah, the name is always a tricky thing. Everybody gets messed up, but when you're Croatian, and it's just a weird pronunciation, so you did a great job.
Awesome.
I really appreciate you thinking of me. Yeah, the panel was so much fun, being up there with 3 other entrepreneurs and kind of sharing our stories and things that we deal with on a regular basis, as you know, as an entrepreneur. But I think I'm just unemployable. So
I have that title now too. I get you.
So I was like, well, I have to figure out what else I'm going to do, since nobody, wants to hire me. Well, actually, I started the Opus Wealth Strategies is a baby of mine that's been around for quite a while. I started in the finance industry about 19 years ago, just because before this, I wanted to be a physician. I wanted to help people. When I came to the United States, I was really helped by so many people to get me through college and just through life, that I wanted to give back. Then I figured out how much medical school costs, how much money I don't have, being a foreign exchange student. And I figured out that the second most important thing to people was finance.
Yeah.
And most of the places just don't teach anything when it comes to finance. So
Yeah.
I got into the financial world in 2001. Obviously, 2001 was an interesting year. Then we had the amazing markets through 2008, and 2008 was a ridiculous year. And along the way, I figured that, my industry is all about products of sales, but my heart led me to product of education.
Mm-hmm.
And education led to great success because people really want to be taught, they don't want to be sold.
Yes.
The Opus Wealth Strategies just became successful because of the process that we take our clients, which is completely education centric. And then anything else is a consequence of understanding and empowerment of the client, so they really know what they're doing and what they're putting in their plans. Mm-hmm. From that, really the Insight Financial Academy came because when I was sitting across from these clients that are LMDs, that are MIT graduates, that are NASA scientists, that are entrepreneurs, that are teachers, that are engineers, I would ask them questions that they just didn't know much. And then I started doing research and going, why do these people just not know much when it comes to personal finance? And really finding out, just like everybody else knows that's probably listening and watching, mm-hmm. There is no finance education in the workplace. There's no finance education in colleges and MBA programs and MD schools. But, we went from this environment of pensions and Social Security back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s to, hey, here's a 401k, no pension, Social Security's crap. But now you got to know all this stuff for yourself, and you got to figure out how to save and retire. but there was just this void of no support, no education, and no really people understanding what they're supposed to be doing for themselves. It is a huge task with a very little support. So I started Inside Financial Academy just to give the employers the ability to offer employees the value of financial education to make them be better people, better husbands, wives, mothers, not just better employees. We started performing and just got a great response. But while we were performing, the people that were learning and that were sitting in front of us started saying, "Hey, this is amazing, but it's limited to my workplace. How do I offer this to my husband or my wife or my kids or my parents or my sister or my best friend?" And actually on a flight back from Wisconsin, I was emailing with my team and I was like, listen, we have to build a platform that's available to everybody. That's not just limited to a workplace. So that's where the genesis of Squire was. Really, it is an online financial educational platform. We just launched beta. We're getting amazing feedback from the members that are on the platform to make it as best as possible. And I think the full launch is going to be August 1st. And so I'm excited, crazy about that. I was talking to one of my friends who's a surgeon that went into running a hospital. And I was like, dude, how do you go from, like, you love being a surgeon, you love helping your patients, you love the hugs. And he was like, Daniel, you and I, we love the hugs. You love to teach. I love to do surgery and help people. We both have the same passion, just a different product. Yeah. But I get to hug one patient at a time. If I go now and run a hospital, impact the whole system, impact the care, the service, the physician's approach, the outcome, now I'm touching thousands of people at a time. Now it's going from one-on-one hug to thousands of hugs. You're doing the same thing at Opus Wealth Strategies, to sit in front of one person, one couple, one business owner, one doctor, whoever they might be. And it's fantastic. But with Squire, now I'm reaching to thousands and really trying to make an impact, because again, there's no sale, there's no product. It's just really pure education. And the biggest benefit is that my members are going to have a place to go at the time of this decision. Because most places, the time of decision is whenever they go, all right, I guess I got to Google, I'm going to buy a car. What do I need to know? What do I got to get ready? I need a will. My parents are going into the nursing home. What the heck do I do? How do I find that information? So we're building a place that people can safely ask the questions, that they don't have to feel shy or embarrassed about the fact that they don't know. Because a lot of us that are in our 40s are going, I should know this crap. And now I look foolish if I ask questions. So, and there's going to be a button that you just go, hey, Shelly, what do you need? Let us teach you. Let us equip you with that information so you can go and make the right decision for you. And it's based on knowledge rather than hope or opinion.
I love that.
And then CrossFit, my wife and I worked out at the place, and the gentleman that owned it was an amazing guy. They wanted to move out of town. They were going to close it. And Melissa and I looked at each other, we're like, we don't want to find another gym. So might as well buy the darn thing. And it was the best thing ever. We're in the middle of building our own location and our own building, and it's just fun. And like you said, I believe that, the whole financial wellness and health and everything just kind of goes together, because bad finances can cause bad health. And then if you're not working out and eating well, then it's just all goes to crap.
Yes, absolutely. So I wasn't sure how our conversation, where I would stem through, but now I know exactly where to stem through. A few years ago, I had one of my DC clients. I do a university internal for them, and lots of leadership development, have speakers, workshops, yada, yada, yada come in. Well, we had a financial wellness person come in. At the time, I'd never heard of such a concept before, but I knew when you talked about wellness, so now I'm talking probably 8 years ago, when you talk about wellness, people immediately think the physical side. Oh, everybody's going to go and prep and to be able to run a 5K or do a walk of a 3K or what have you. And so the mind was automatically on the physical side of wellness. And so I had come across, so our theme for the year was on wellness. But after I started doing research, I found this program who did something similar, but nowhere near where you are today in this concept. And I realized at that point that my client and I were had missed the boat of what wellness really was for workplace. And it really is financial, Because if you don't have the financial side, as you said, it creates stress personally and professionally, and we bring that into the workplace. And it spews over into all kinds of different ways, from the obvious things of the stress and the dysfunctionality as you as an employee or you as a manager, and it bleeds into the workplace culture, typically in a negative way. And when you talk about employers who are screening for background and whether there's garnishments coming out, those level of stress and making people supposedly unemployable simply because of that tax piece can really cut down an already slim workforce of great people. Just because you have a garnishment over your head certainly does not mean that you're not capable of working and doing, or that you're automatically going to be a thief at work. So it really made me look at things differently. So I said, we've got the component of the wellness from the physical, which is the first obvious, but that financial piece and the stress piece and how that impacts overall engagement inside of a workplace culture is a completely different game. And then now, unfortunately, in today's world of stress and burnout and workplace violence, and having to do training on, like the Penn Sherm piece, doing training on workplace violence and active shooter. I mean, who would have thought that we would be in this place? So I would like to come back to, and I might catch you off guard a little bit with this, but what are some of the statistics that since the conception of Opus Wealth into the IFC Academy piece and now emerging into Squire, are there statistical trends that you can kind of pull off the top of the cuff, or references that show the more financially sound, educated, and confident an individual and employee, personally and professionally, the more engaged, or how that makes them more employable or makes them more of a right culture fit? Does that question kind of make sense? I'm sure you have it in slides, and if you can't quickly find it, I know you know this stuff because this is part of it.
I'm looking actually for it's funny, we did a folder that has all the information on kind of a front page, because all the research that we did. So you have the PricewaterhouseCoopers does a survey every year, and it's all about financial wellness in the workplace, and the cost, the absenteeism, the focus, the ability of people to actually be efficient and effective at work. You're talking millions of dollars, and average 2 days a month that are lost to financial stress dealing with stuff at home.
Yeah.
The numbers are staggering. The problem is that when you look at it from the side of cost to benefit, you know, we set a certain price, and when you look at any kind of products that are out there that are minimal to, you know, potentially good when it comes to the benefit that you're getting, the cost is somewhere from $25 an employee to $150 an employee per year. But you're thinking about a company that has 1,000 employees. Now you're looking at $150,000 ticket for a return on investment. That's kind of, does this matter? Or am I just being a nice guy? And now I'm paying $150,000 as a business owner to be a nice guy.
Right.
It is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of entrepreneurs to offer as a benefit. But it's a crazy amount of loss that happens because these statistics. I can provide you with all the numbers. I don't have them. I mean, they broke it down in 11 categories of dollars compared to hours, compared to, you know, absenteeism and through work. So it's something that's getting worse, not better.
Exactly.
If you look at the survey from 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, the numbers, the percentages are growing from 37% to 39% to 42% of people that are saying that they don't feel comfortable, that they're stressed constantly, that they're dealing with stuff at work that they should be dealing at home, and that they're taking more and more times off. It's actually staggering that the millennials are feeling more hopeless than the seniors. So about 55s and over, they actually feel like they're going, yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I got the Social Security, I got a little bit of money that I saved, and the benefit, and this is where we found the numbers being skewed, is that the 55 plus, a lot of them that were surveyed still worked for the companies that are huge, because PricewaterhouseCoopers especially is the number one survey out there, works with huge organizations that still have some pensions. So if to that company from 20 to 55, you were there 35 years, you still have somewhat of a pension. So these people are going, I might get a $3,000 a month pension plus $2,300 a month of Social Security, plus my wife, we're making, $100,000 a year in retirement. Millennials are going in, what business do you, Shelley, know that has a pension?
None.
And a lot of them don't even do the 401k offering, especially if they're students. So financially, these kids are coming out, huge student loans.
Yes.
Cars are now $50,000 when they used to be $30,000. And, flashier and better, and Teslas and all that stuff, they're amazing. But the cost of new houses are, they used to be 150, now they're 250, depending on where you go. God forbid you live in California, you get a bungalow for $1 million.
Yeah.
So the stress of the millennials, and they're the ones that are looking for help. They're the ones that are really going after to teach, because they don't have enough money to work with a financial advisor, but they understand and they're smart enough to go, I need help. This is overwhelming. I'm willing to pay for education to make me a better person, and then put me in a position where I have a plan and I'm working towards some kind of an outcome. As soon as, and this just in general life, if you start working at the problem, you put together some action steps, and now you're working towards a solution. Now it's not a stressful situation anymore. You feel accomplished, and now you actually can focus on work. You can focus on your life rather than focus on the problem that never goes away. Yeah. So that's what we're seeing, a trend with the millennials that are smarter than me, who's a Generation X, and are going, hey, we understand this, and let's go and do something about it.
Yeah, so, no, that's the exact, you're spot on. I mean, obviously this is your world. For me to say spot on was a little bit funny, but, but, in conversations with my kids, they understand the value of needing to put money aside and to do investments. But to your point, how do I do that on my current wage and coming out of college? How do you make that happen? I know when I was growing up, my dad, who was an entrepreneur, didn't know that at the time, but he always said, when he was breaking down the monthly pieces, when I got my first real gig with Marriott, he talked about, what are you making? And he literally walked me through my budget and how he's like, I don't care then, if it was $5, he's making $20,000, he said, I don't care what it is, but above everything else, pay yourself first. You have to treat yourself like a bill, and you have to, put that aside. So we were not taught, I'm an older Gen X, you're the younger Gen X, but we were not taught at the same level, and we didn't have the securities like you said. And certainly from an entrepreneurial perspective, which so many of the millennials, and now even my youngest son in the Z generation, work is not the way work used to be. The typical 9 to 5 piece is no longer. The side hustle is a norm, and being your own true spirit and multi-owner of businesses is the new norm. So now that understanding becomes even more impactful of how do I do it? How do I manage the taxes through the retirement piece? And like you said, if you don't have monies, how can you at least get started? What's the safe way, and then you can move into, if you're willing to take more risk and do it.
The biggest thing that I'll tell you, like the savings piece, what your dad taught you. So first, the statistics on that are also amazing, where 80% of people didn't have those conversations at the dinner table. Yeah. 20% were lucky, where either the father or the mother were the business owner, or were savvy, or were in the field of accounting or finance or something like that. And then they just, conversations, transferred information to the child, and the child listened and actually implemented some of that education. 80% of people never had that. 80% of people's parents would struggle. They would be paycheck to paycheck, never got an education, weren't in the field, blue collar. Like my parents were completely blue collar, never, I pay my mom's bills. Thankfully, I'm able to, but it was just never a part of their upbringing. So where were they supposed to get this information? And then the traditional way of thinking is, oh my gosh, I have to pay my bills, and then whatever's left over, I save. Well, if you think about it backwards, I mean, Shelley, today, if you say, hey, listen, and this is how we set it up, take 10% of whatever you make and don't even think about it, put it in a savings account, just from the check, move it into 2 different accounts. And then the other 90, it's amazing how your life will fit into it. And you won't miss the 10. Because if you think about it, when you do the 100% into the working account, and then things just happen, especially these days, the check card is like the worst thing ever, because it's not real. I don't know how you are, but like I talk to people that we work with, And I'm like, listen, if you have $100 bill, how painful is it to break that?
Super painful.
It's super painful, right? But once you break it, it's just like it freaking disappears.
Gone. Yep.
Absolutely. So if you think about it, if you just take the $100 and go, hey, I'm going to take this 10 and put it into this other pocket, but this 90 is for living. You're going to figure out, by the end of the day, if you still have leftover money other than 90, great. But if it's gone, it's gone. You don't go into the other 10. So people just do it backwards. So there's so many, and there's so many psychological things about this whole finance world. It's all about the peace of mind. It's all about the vision at the end. It's all about how you feel about it rather than, logistically how you do it. So what we try to teach is really the psychology of it to build good habits. Then, I go back to the Bible and I think about it. Hey, I can tell you what to do. I'm giving you a fish. I can teach you what to do. I'm teaching you how to fish and feeding you for a lifetime. So building that education, and that's the empowerment. That's really the equipping to people to be able to understand it and then be able to implement it themselves forever.
No. Well, and even in school, they don't teach. I mean, I remember going through basics of, managing your checkbook, and my two oldest kids didn't get any of that in school. And, what they did get on personal finance was an absolute joke. I remember the first time they're like, check register. What the heck is a check register? So even, the fundamental pieces, to your point, or not. And I love the analogy that you just gave on from the Bible. I think that's definitely spot on. And I think that we feel guilty, or we feel like we're working sometimes. And if we put it in the savings, we can't go enjoy life, especially if you're on a, check to check budget. You just want to keep the roof over the head, food on the table, clothing on the back. And it's hard to be able to do that. One thing that my husband has always told me to do that I've never done is that, all of these supposed discounts that you get, like at Food Lion, the different savings. He's like, it's not a savings, babe, unless you actually take that money and put it in the account. I was like, yeah, you're right. And we have that mentality, unfortunately, of one day I'll catch up. It's like catching up with sleep. You're never going to catch up with your sleep.
Nope.
So get over yourself.
I'll tell you the best advice I ever got. My first mentor, when I first got in the business, a couple of things that he told me. He was like, first off, anytime you pay off anything, take that money and put it into savings account, because you never had it. You used to paying it, and you shouldn't be missing it. Because the biggest thing psychologically is when we feel like we're taking stuff away, they'd be like, Shelly, hey, you need to start saving. So no Starbucks, if you do it 5 days a week, right, we're going 3 days a week. And your psychological, response is, I deserve that Starbucks. I don't want to give that up. So you're crazy. I'm not going to talk to you. But if I say, hey, Shelly, next time you get a raise, take 50% of the raise, put it away, because you never had it. You're not missing it. You're not psychologically taken away from your lifestyle, and you're never going to feel it. But take the other 50%, enjoy it, blow it, have fun, enjoy life, because we don't know how long we're going to live. My father passed away at 64. So if I would have, by his standards, waited till my retirement at 65, I would have never done it. So all my saving and taking away from my enjoyment when I'm 40 would have been worthless. So anytime you get a bonus, anytime you get a higher commission, anytime you get a refund, tax refund, anytime you get an increase in pay, take a 50% rule. Mm-hmm. It is amazing how quick that savings account is going to start growing, and how quick you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, but I'm not feeling like I'm taken away. Yeah. Because I never had it. It was just a bonus. Anytime you pay off a credit card, take that payment and add it to the savings side. Mm-hmm. Take 50%, blow it, have fun, enjoy yourself. You get a bonus, you get a tax refund. It is the easiest psychologically thing to set up, because you're not taking away. You're actually adding. And then, most of us have this competitive side of us. We're like, wow, I'm saving up to $200 a month already. Maybe I could do 220. Maybe I could do 250. I mean, I'm not missing the 200. So once you start seeing it and you feel that success, you want to succeed more and you want to do more.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
That is the hardest thing. We all know that.
Yeah. Well, you live within your means, plain and simple. You live within your means. I personally have done that turmoil throughout my life, and I see people that do that. My mom has always been a physical worker, from a box factory into hotels and laundry rooms. So basically a minimum wage worker her entire life. She has way more money than anybody that I personally know. That she always has money. because she managed it appropriately. She always put it back. She lived within her means. I know back when in my hotel days as a GM, anytime that we needed something that we needed to rearrange on the budget, I always went to my front desk clerks, my dishwashers, and my housekeepers, because they knew how to stretch a dollar unlike anybody that they knew. They just were able to lay it out, and it goes back to that piece of you live within your means. So you're right. When you get a raise, you were already managing the way you were before. Why can't you put that money aside? So some tips I've heard you say, and then we're gonna put a wrap on this, is number one, if you do have some stats, I will add those into the transcription piece of this, what's transcribed, and kind of put that or a link or something to reference. I'm going to let the folks know how to best get in contact with you through these different pieces you have available. But definitely we know beyond a shadow of a doubt, the stress that we have in our personal lives comes into the workplace, no matter how hard we think we try or how good we are. And definitely financial side, it's still one of the number one things that people get divorced over and that they argue about. It definitely comes in the worst, and it definitely bleeds over into our teams at work, performance at work, and definitely inside of our households and the influence that we have. So I heard you talk about some tips of parents have conversations with your kids, right? Talk about the importance of that. Be open and transparent with a financial side. Tips of taking 50% of either something you paid off and put that aside. Take 50% of a bonus of an increased raise, put that aside. If it can't be 50%, then the 10%, pull that aside, and just start with something, and that something will always become something else. What are some other tips or things that you think are easy for people listening that they can kind of get started? One, for the person listening, and then two, for the employer head that's listening.
You're talking about culture. This is what this is about. Our culture in the United States of America has gone from everything's going to be okay to, hey, you got to take care of yourself. So that taking care of yourself was where people fail, because we get busy with kids, with 300 emails, with Facebook, with Twitter, with all this stuff that just kills your time, right? Mm-hmm. So being mindful, taking an hour out of the day to plan and to execute the plan, whether it be in financial, whether it be in business, is huge. And people don't do that anymore. It is extremely important. We talk as entrepreneurs all the time, not working in your business, but working on your business.
Yeah.
When it comes to your life, working on your life rather than in your life. Because, I don't know how many of us woke up on July 1st and went, oh crap, it's July 1st already?
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, we're closer to Christmas than we are to January. I mean, it's unbelievable. And things just happen. Like one of the things that Melissa and I, my wife and I, do on a regular basis, because of one summer, we have 3 kids. We have 8-year-old twins, and Maya, who's 16, in 2 years, she'll be gone. So we sat down one summer, after the summer, we're like, we didn't do anything. We were so busy of just working and doing stuff that really, the kids, we didn't go to the beach too much. We didn't do anything important that kids will remember. So now, beginning of every summer, we sit down and take out the calendar and go, okay, we're going to go to Water Country. We're going to go to Busch Gardens. We're going to go this and that, and put it on the calendar to plan over a bottle of wine once the kids are asleep. But it's planning to actually have fun for the summer so that the kids can have some memories.
Yes.
Same thing when it comes to finances. Hey, babe, this is what's going on. We have a busy summer. We're traveling a lot. Let's talk about finances. Let's sit down. Everything's always easier with a bottle of wine or scotch or bourbon, whatever you think.
Vodka. Vodka's my choice.
Whatever it is, cup of coffee. You just don't, you don't like the spirits. It's totally fine. Yeah. But it's being mindful and really planning it out. One of the things I'll tell you is, you asked me about a book or something. So there's this friend of mine, Charles Clark. I was asked to be on his podcast, but I'm speaking at his conference in September, and was going to be a Olympian, but health, injuries, all kinds of stuff happened, and he prevailed and then started doing business as well. But one of the things that he sent me, and I actually bought for my team at the company, is this Thrive Planner. Mm-hmm. And the Thrive Planner is an amazing tool that I use every day. It gives you the daily game plan, the daily starter, morning starters, night finishers, because I believe owning your day is important. I mean, as an entrepreneur, as a mom, as a father, you wake up and it just goes to crap. right?
Yes.
We're very
Mhm.
reactive. We forget to reflect. We forget to be thankful. We forget to remember what we're working for. So, for me, morning starters, workout 60 minutes, meditate 10 minutes, read 15 minutes, plan journal 15 minutes, to the total of owning my morning, because that's how I own my day. And at
Yes.
the end, reflect what happened, what my biggest loss for today, what is my biggest win for today, read another 15 minutes, do my daily devotional, and then go to bed. I mean, those are the things that I can control. And I'm a big believer in controlling what you can.
Yeah.
Life will throw stuff at you that you can't control. The only thing I can control is my reaction to it.
Yes.
So whether it be in finances, whether it be in business, whether it be in, wife, kids, anything, I am responsible for myself. I'm responsible for my actions. Those actions are going to give me the best outcomes depending on how I react. So
Mhm.
I just have to control it. That's it. I can't stress. There's so many people that stress about stuff they can't control. What's
Yes.
the purpose? Would it help? Does it help?
No.
No, it just doesn't. So control myself, keep myself from not losing it too often because
Yeah.
we will lose it.
Yeah.
But it's important to know, hey, this is fine. I can go in a room, scream a little bit, and then come out and be like, all right, I'm good. Now let's go forward. So those are the biggest things that I've learned in my life. Is just
I love it.
don't worry about stuff, plan, be mindful, be deliberate, and move forward.
Absolutely. 100% agree with all of those things. And it starts with it's our own mindness. It's our own mindset.
Yeah.
You see the hashtag mindset for almost every day. There's some quote coming up, and you're right. You have to be solid in yourself. It's like years ago, I heard somebody say, "Why are you busy straightening the chairs on the Titanic?" I was like, "You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. What's the point? What's the point of that?" So the intentionality. So I love that. So Daniel, what is the easiest way or the preferred way that you would like for people to follow up with any questions that they have on any of your businesses, or to find out more information about any of the educational services that you have here around finance? I will put it on the bottom, but for people who are listening, I want them to hear it from you too.
You can follow us on Instagram under Squire, Get Squire, or Get IFA. Facebook, same. You can look at me. I'm pretty much the only Danny Gel Veliki
You think?
on Facebook or Instagram. And then my main email is Daniel with a J, DANIJL at getopuswealth.com. Getopuswealth.com. And I'll forward all that stuff to you, Shelly, so that you have it. But we try to give as much content information out there on the social media, be present, and I'd love to answer any questions anybody has.
Beautiful, good stuff. I love the education piece. I love the hitting the masses and doing things that are you're passionate about, your knowledge about, and you're focused about. And it's good stuff. So having that overall wellness. And again, I appreciate the fact that your actions speak very loud. So you live all the things that you do, all the things that you talk about from a holistic standpoint. So I love that as well. So thank you so much for being a guest today. I appreciate you. You guys, if you have missed, or if you're ever in the Hampton Roads area, again, one of the many things that Daniel does is he's a part of the Peninsula SHRM, which is a Society of Human Resource Management, and he can often be found in the meetings there. That's the third Thursday of every month, with great information, great insight, and we're going to add him back to the agenda. It's been a couple of years, I think, since you've spoken. And I think that it's time to bring you back on, and some additional tips and resources that you have, because it's amazing information for that as well. So thank you so much again for your time. And again, my name is Shelly Smith. I'm the proud owner of Premier Rapport, where everything about workplace culture matters. Definitely the entire wellness piece has a pillar of the financial side, and it bleeds into the engagement and the overall well-being and the mental strength that many people are facing today. So do the right thing and look at the different ways that you can bring an informational workshop into place, a lunch and learn into place. Any little tidbit that you can add, you can add these conversations to your one-on-ones that you have inside of your teams and your performance reviews to help them and guide them on a monthly and a quarterly basis, because it's absolutely the right thing to do. As leaders, we need to first be good mentors and good representation. So you know, open up your view and your scope, and don't be too laser focused on work, 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 because as Daniel said, if you think that your team who is under financial stress isn't manning phone calls at work, you've got your blinders on. If you think they're not returning phone calls or trying to figure out what to do, you've got your blinders on. If you think that side job that they're doing, that side hustle or picking up a part-time job isn't because they're financially stressed, you've got your blinders on. So there's all kinds of ways to gently open up the conversation. And it can begin with inviting Daniel and one of his team members in for a webinar, a lunch and learn, and presentation. So until then, have a great day. You guys know how to hit me up with questions, ideas, comments, and guests you think I need to have on the show, and what it is that you would like for me to pick their brain about so you can understand the impact of Culture Matters. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.